Yeah, I wanted to talk about Kai Kara France today. The header for this one is Kai smashes Brandon Moreno. Probably upset a few people, but what can I say? I'm a New
Bias
Zealand
Kiwi.
martial arts fan, and I'm also very strong fan of
The
Kai
boys.
Kara France himself. I even got the shirt on today, bro. Got the Kai Kara France shirt on. Got a son called Kai. Followed Kai for about 11 years or something, maybe 12 years. So I know I'm a big fan, bro. And I think he's going to take him. What are your thoughts on it, bro?
I think it's I always say it's, but like lately the UFC has been putting on some like terrific matchups. Like this is one of the matchups which is a good fight, but it makes sense as well. Obviously, Figgy's out with the injury. I don't really want to see. I don't think anybody wants to see what is it, Figgy Moreno. Will it be 4 or 5 now?
Fourth, bro.
Fourth.
This is crazy.
Yeah, like let's just move on. Let's get some fresh blood in the division. Obviously, I think Figgy was talking about moving up. So if he does, this could possibly be for the flyweight title, not the interim. And it's interesting stylistics matchup. I was actually there live when these two guys fought the first time because it was when Volk first fought Holloway. So yeah, it's cool. Going to be cool to see this fight come full circle and sort of see how both of the fighters have evolved since their previous matchup.
Yeah, man. I was listening to an interview by Moreno, and he said that he kind of wanted the Figgy fight again. I'm thinking, aren't you sick of it, man? You fought him 3 times in a row. He hasn't fought anyone else for a couple of years. 3 times, man. Like, get over it. Move on and fight someone else. No one wants to watch people fight 4 times. I think he thinks it's a bit historic and that and kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to see him fight. I'd like to see Kai fight either of these guys, Figgy or Brandon Moreno. He's taking Brandon Moreno. I probably would have liked to see the other matchup because Figgy is the current real champ, right? But it's still the next best thing. They fought once before, but both of them have evolved so much since then. Hey, like you look at their styles. Like I was watching some older fights of Moreno, man. He just come into his element now. It's like he's in his prime. Like he just clicked into his prime. He got more confident, and then so's Kai, right? Like Kai at the same time when he fought Moreno, he wasn't the same fighter that he is now. Now he's like just believing in himself. What he said, he learned to believe in himself, and now he's just doing so much better, man. He's icing people again, you know. Don't blink, he's coming back.
He's saying all the right things coming into this fight as well, like how he just talks about like it's his time and everything like that. And like in the fighting game, timing's everything. Like timing down to like actual adjustments in the fight, but as well as like how is your sort of career trajectory going, how your mindset, how everything like. And he's on the current right now, which he's on is the 4 or 5 fight win streak, I think it is. And like you said, he's back to stopping people. Realistically, in his last couple of fights, he's been put in some pretty dire, I guess one dire situation with the rear naked. He's had his back taken against high level submission, got 3 fight win streak, and he's still ready, like still coming through on the other side. So it's good to see that maybe earlier in his career where he wouldn't have been able to overcome the early burst in the fights, he's overcome it now. He's sort of, like you said, really coming into himself and his style.
Yeah, it seems that this sort of these guys are colliding at the perfect time. They're both kind of hitting their peak, I would say. Brandon's 28, Kai's 29. Their stats are kind of a little bit similar. Moreno's got a few centimeters reach on him. He's got 3 centimeters reach, and what is it on the height? It's 7 centimeters height. So he's got that little bit of an advantage. He can keep the range a bit. Their record's kind of interesting. 27 fights for Brandon, 34 fights for Kai. The interesting thing, though, is that their stats on their wins is kind of mirrored. So for Brandon, he's got 3 KOs and 11 sub wins, and Kai's got 11 KOs and 3 sub wins. It's kind of funny. Like they just mirrored each other on those two. It's weird. And obviously the strength of Moreno is that he's a black belt BJJ, although he doesn't really seem to show it, especially in his fights with Figueiredo. He's not really he's not trying to compete on the ground. It's actually Figgy was trying to take him down a lot. Kai, on the other hand, is obviously focused on striking. I heard someone mention in an analysis that he hasn't got even attempted any subs in the UFC, which is kind of interesting. Hey, like it's kind of unusual because I know he can grapple. Like when I first watched him fight, he came to Hong Kong. He fought a stand-up guy, and he was the grappler. He wasn't the stand-up guy. He was just grappling. He was just taking him down, like wrestling. So it's kind of interesting. He's turned into that striking specialist, even though he kind of had a good base in wrestling. You know.
Yeah, it's like you said. I think it's sort of how their record's shaped it's going to sort of be a good indication of how they might try and apply their game plans to the fight sort of thing. Like you said, Moreno's got that black belt jiu-jitsu. He's got solid ground game. I think one of the main reasons he didn't want to take Figgy down is one, Figgy is a little ball of muscle. Like he's a nugget. He's super strong and he's super explosive. And I think Moreno there's a sort of, whenever you spar with someone or grapple, you can almost feel like off a quick exchange or something, you can sort of tell what level they're at sort of thing. And I think it would have been the case, whereas he would have, when they did hit the ground, it would have been like, all right, he tried a few things and he's like, all right, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot more energy here on the ground to fight my fight than it would be if we keep the fight standing, which is why I think he didn't apply it too much. However, against Kai and how Kai's been looking lately, I think Moreno probably will try and mix in for takedowns and try to look to get it to the ground, as that is sort of his bread and butter where he gets the most finish. And when we have seen Kai get caught before, it's not by getting a big one-shot KO'd. He's hard to finish there, but we have seen him get caught in the giving up his back a couple of times, got caught there, or actually been put out with a guillotine and the rear naked.
Yeah, man, like listening to Moreno, he's kind of like you know what people say, they make a mistake when they look past opponents. He's looking past Kai a bit. He's talking about the next fights already. He's saying, yeah, Kai's a good contender, blah, blah, but you can see he's not really taking it as seriously. So I've got a feeling he's going to just follow his game plan that worked before, which is basically a stand-up fight. He may go for a takedown, but I think more than anything, he's probably just going to try and stand, probably to prove himself. And because he believes he's a better fighter, he fought him and beat him before. And it wasn't a massively different fight. Like he won on one of the judges' scorecards back in 2019 when they fought. He won on one of the judges' scorecard 30-27, but the other said it was only a point in it. So it was pretty close. Yeah. And actually looking at the stats of that fight too, Kai had more significant strikes overall, although it looked like he did lose, but still it was 74-79 in significant strikes according to the stats. So it was very close, man. You know, he just got it. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see like the evolution of these guys is definitely there. And then Moreno is looking great and super slick in comparison to them. Kai's the same, confident. What happens when they collide again, man? I think it's going to be a very different sort of fight.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think because the evolution Kai have made him a stand-up is I think he's going to force Moreno to shoot. Whereas I think, where is it? Yeah, if Kai, because the problem with how it's going to be hard to say because Kai is starching people, but Moreno has a crazy chin on him. But when he puts that power on him, he can start to crumble him. I think also if Kai implements a lot of body work, because Moreno likes to sit forward, head over his hips, and he likes to sort of draw his head out to get people to come in and commit. Then he likes to pull back and counter of that. If when he starts trying to bite, Kai can throw one or two shots to either use a couple shots to set up the big headshot, or just start flicking stuff out to attack the body and the legs when he's planted, or even just go for the head. And as he starts to counter, he can move back from there, chop the legs, move back, re-engage him and counter. I think he's going to have to add a few more layers into his striking to actually start and catch Moreno. But with saying that, that's what he has been doing to these guys. He has been adding in the fakes, the looks, and he's been putting everything really well together, which is why I think if he starts having success there, that's when we're going to see Moreno start to look to maybe not even force ground exchanges, but force clinches, force grapplings, try and sap Kai's arms and get them heavy, because this is Kai's first 5-round fight. Moreno's coming off 3 5-rounders sort of thing. So he's going to be comfortable there with his gas tank. So he's going to know if he can sort of try and get Kai on his back, get his arms heavy, force him to explode a couple of times, scramble up. He's going to try and drain his gas tank that way. And then we might see Moreno just trying to land his more counters. But as we've seen, Kai's been fucking put in some of the worst positions you can be, and he's been getting out of them lately.
Yeah, man. What do you mention about Kai's power? I think he's got two chances of winning in my eyes. One is that early KO, which is what he's been doing, and we've seen in the Figueiredo fights with Moreno that he lands a few big overhands that actually hurt Brandon Moreno. But Moreno has a strong chin, but he does get hit. He got hit by Kai with the right hand. It's Kai's like specialty is that big overhand. So that's his key weapon if he wants to get that early stoppage, and he's going to land it. He's definitely going to land it. Yeah. Just depends, like, has that power developed? Is it going to land right on his chin, and can he take him out early? I think there's a chance. Kai's shown there's a chance that he can knock anyone in the world out. So that's the first chance. The second is the long game. And Moreno was talking about it in his interview too, that he's acknowledged that people are saying that Kai hasn't had 5-round fights before, but there's been a lot of fighters that have come in their first 5-round fight and they've done really well.
Yep.
So he's not thinking that that's like potentially going to happen. And but Kai talking as well, he said it's just the difference in their training. They just up the intensity of certain areas of training. For example, the spider workout, they make it 5 rounds rather than 3. And it just changes the game a bit, but it shouldn't be that effectual because all the guys in that sort of division have good cardio, according to Kai. Anyway, that's what he said. Now, the long game, man, their team is City Kickboxing, right? And they're like master tacticians. And this is where I think when I started to think about how would Kai win, I think like a long game might suit him too, but he's got to play it a bit differently than he did before. And it might, if he played it the way I envisage, it might not be an exciting fight. It might be another one like is his last fight, which for me, it was actually tremendous. A lot of people bitching about it, saying it was a shit fight, man. I was very impressed by Israel, especially in the first couple of rounds. Just very impressive, very skillful work, very solid kicks and everything. But it is what it is. Everyone wants to see people standing and brawling and hurting themselves. Anyway, this one, I reckon the long game, hit and move might work well for Kai as well because Brandon Moreno is always good on the counter, right? Like people land something good and then he counters straight away. He's always waiting. He's there with, like you mentioned before, like his style. He's got his hands like this. Look, kind of annoying the way he moves, eh? But someone hits
awkward,
him,
very awkward.
Just waiting for him to come, and he just throws it back straight away. He's like master at countering the shots. And if Kai can get in and land and either continue the combination or get out again and reset, he might have a chance of interrupting. I think that's one of the keys, interrupting Brandon's rhythm. He's definitely a rhythmic sort of fighter. You watch the way he's moving. He's got this rhythm side to side, and he'll wait, catch a counter. If Kai can look at breaking that rhythm, which seems to be something that the CKB guys do really well with feints, etc. I think he could, interrupt his central nervous system, as they say, maybe wear him out a bit that way and just, control the rhythm and pace of the fight in Kai's favor. What do you think about that concept, bro?
It's definitely a possibility. Like two of these, realistically, we're looking at two of the best flyweights in the world. Both comes from good teams. I think the fact that Moreno has prepped solely for one guy in the last 3 fights might play a little bit more into Kai's favor, as Kai's been having, you just get a much broader arsenal when you're preparing for different styles of different guys and everything. Don't get me wrong, you're going to improve similar levels against one guy, but just for tactical adjustments, the concepts and the ideas and everything, there's just not going to be as many as you can use against one guy as you could prepping for many people, which I think is going to be a big difference. I think, like you said, with a long game, it's going to be tough because, like we said, Moreno's always there and he makes good adjustments on the fly sort of thing. But if there's if there's a team that can stay on top of her constant adjustments, it's obviously City Kickboxing. And Kai's a very sort of, reciprocal fighter when he's in there. Like he can hear the information, he can put it straight to work. So I think as long as, he doesn't get overwhelmed and he doesn't get too far behind, if he can start early, establish his power early and look to build from there, and like you said, disrupt Moreno's rhythm, really start trying to get him unsure when he's coming in, sometimes counter, sometimes get out, sometimes stay and force an exchange, even sometimes initiate a clinch, and just give him what to think about and don't let Moreno fight his fight. I think then we can see Kai be pretty successful over the whole 5 rounds.
Yeah, man. And the typical sort of CKB strategy, I think, will work. Like the feints that they use, definitely disrupt people. I think Kai uses a couple of different sort of feints. He kind of feints with his arms, which aren't as effectual, I think. But when he does it, when he's kind of stomps with his feet, it's more like aggressive feint and people bite on it a little bit more. So I'd like to see that sort of more aggressive feint for him. And of course, working the calf kicks. It's been shown that he gets hit with calf kicks. He's actually pretty damaged by calf kicks, Moreno, in some of his fights with Figgy. And I think that's a pretty obvious tactic. Start to work the legs, slow him down, use those feints, and then set up that right hand. And like you said, I like the idea of mixing it up because sometimes he has to exchange more. But I think land some single overhands with a bit of feinting and movement, but then think about what's he going to do as Moreno counters? Because Moreno, one thing I sort of see as well is he gets kicked he kind of gets knocked off balance quite a bit with leg kicks and that too. And I think while he's throwing punches, he's very dependent on that long stance, that lead leg out there too. I think if you could focus on it in the combination, mixing it up with a low left inside kick along with something else, I think you could kind of disrupt his balance and take away the power, especially for that left hook. Moreno kind of wings that left hook pretty strong, you know. And the other thing too, he always coming in with hands a bit wild. Thinking that the head kick, which Kai was looking for in their first fight, there was a reason they were looking for it. Something from their
Was
team.
that the step up left one?
Yeah, they kept throwing head kicks quite a bit. It was mostly step up left, I think. And Moreno's got good head kicks too, man. He flicks it up there as well. But I just think there must have been something that they were looking for that the CKB guys identified that he's open for. And I think when he's a bit wild and throwing, that might be the time to flick up a head kick just to mix it up as well. But at the same time, he's got to avoid the ground. Like I don't think Kai should be looking to go to the ground just because of his experience. And if he wants to take it to the ground, I think Brandon's defense, takedown defense is pretty incredible from what I've seen, man. He's very good. And it's probably better for Kai just to rely on landing the power shot and working whatever strategy his team comes up with, which I think will be like a hit and move type strategy, and with the occasional sort of attack when Brandon's flurrying, maybe involved in the counter somehow. Yeah. What do you think, man? What do you think about the takedowns? Do you think you should stay away from it, or do you think you should engage?
I don't think you should necessarily stay away from anything in a fight unless you're completely outclassed against a guy. Like, don't get me wrong, like Kai can hold his own against it. I think obviously that's not going to be game plan A. I think mixing them in will be fine. And just to touch on with that left leg high kick, Moreno likes to sort of pull counter with his right, or even likes to lead exchanges with his right. So if you're flicking up that left leg high kick, you're constantly keeping his right hand up. And even though there's not, what would you say? If you can come in and counter off it, but even though he is blocking the kick, if you get enough of them shin to forearm, you can really start to sap arms and really sort of drain and get the arms feeling heavy and just get impact just by flicking that up, which is also a good strategy over 5 rounds. Because if you're blocking kicks with if you're playing here and you're just here and you're blocking your head, which isn't getting hit, but if you're taking the full force on your forearm, eventually it's going to start to wear your hands of power. Arms are going to be a bit more heavy. Power's not going to be more hesitant to throw the right hand. So I think that's another good strategy to work for, sort of attack and try and keep his right hand occupied, and be prepared to sort of roll and slip his left hook with like an overhand left or something, where you can just step up, flick the left leg. If he goes to start looking for that left hand counter, you can step down, throw your overhand left and throw your right hand after that, and really start looking to jam his hands, try and counter him off his counter. I think that's where Kyle had the most success in the exchanges.
Yeah, bro. So what's your final take, bro? What's your prediction for this one? What are we putting the money on? The house on this one?
After I said I'm back in chins. Like after I've seen Holloway's chin, I think Moreno's got like a similar thing where he gets wobbled and that, but he's very hard to put out. So I think Kai might drop him early, might put some damage on him, but I think Kai's going to run away with it. So I'm going Kai via the decision.
Man, I'm a Kai fan. Like I said, I want to see him take his favorite finish and get a KO, early KO for me. Just step in, shock the world, take the belt with a big overhand. Yeah. So that's my pick, bro.